I'm seeing your greeting on the chat column. I appreciate you all. We'll not waste time. We'll commence today's session in earnest. So we are going to say our usual national prayer. I'll say, "O God of creation, direct our noble course. Guide our leaders right. Help our youth in this country the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true. Great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice reign. Amen." So today is day 4 of our engagement, and it also mark the day whereby we'll be doing a lot of talking, and it's going to mark the day where we'll end much of the talking, and then tomorrow we are going to spend it doing a lot of discussions and a lot of practical aspects of the work in order to drive home the message more and more. But before we proceed, knowledge gain, maybe there are pending questions from our discussion yesterday or comments that you still itching to make so that it could be attended to before we start today's session. Is there anybody that want to make a bit of knowledge gain from yesterday? You can show by raising your hands, and you'll be given the opportunity to do so. Can I see hands? At least. All right. Thank you, Isaiah. You may start the process. Check your screen.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear. Go on.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. Okay. Yesterday we started with the historical development of EIA in Nigeria. So we were made to understand that what triggered the. Hello, sir. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Sir.
Go
So
on,
I was
please.
saying, okay, yesterday we were talking about history of EIA in Nigeria. So you started by explaining that what spurred government to establish EIA in Nigeria was the illegal dumping of hazardous and toxic wastes of Italian origin in Cocoa Delta State by an Italian company. So when it was discovered, government took measures to stop the dump. And then it led to subsequent establishment of the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, which was saddled with the responsibility of protecting the Nigerian environment. Then the establishment of the Ministry of Environment by President Olusegun Obasanjo and the DPRD as the regulators of the environment. We also were made to understand the duties of the NESRA, National Environmental Standard Regulations Enforcement Agency, to help protect the environment and promote EIA, environmental assessments, before the establishment of development projects in the country. So that was it. We also got wind of the legal framework of environmental impact assessments in Nigeria. So briefly, that is part of what I learned yesterday. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think you really followed the class. You were not absent. That was good. That means you actually were paying attention. Thank you. I would like to hear from Edo. Edo Jato. Check your screen. Hello, Edo. There's a request for you to unmute.
Yes, good morning,
Okay.
sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, class. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for the lecture so far. I've been able to learn, and even some places I feel that I've learned, I've relearned. I discovered that you made mention of the question or the test that one is to undergo when you want to be a certified AI consultant yesterday. And you said you represented a particular group or a company, which you actually attested that the company scaled through at the end of the test. Now, is it that I am supposed to have a company, so I'm going to get a group of consultants that are going for that particular test for me, or is my board of directors that are going to represent me? I'm just using me as example so that I will just understand. For instance,
Thank
I
you.
want to set up. Okay, thank you, sir.
No, you can round up the question. Let me
No, I
get
just
more
wanted to
details.
give an example. I just wanted to give an example that, for instance, like I want to set up a Gary processing company, or with nutritious food, different nutritious food attached to it. As the trend is now, we are diversifying, or we are trying to go bio, or do biofoods. We don't want to go chemical anymore. We want to do them natural. And I need people to speak for me. Or am I going there myself, or I need a group of consultants to help me do that?
You need the consultants, okay? Like what happened that day, let me share a little of what I observed that day.
Okay.
My team, we decide all the board of directors will be present. They welcome us. There was no, they didn't say people were too many or not. They welcome us, and then we attended to, they asked us the question as a group because we are representing a company. So, but there are some, it's just the leader of the company, the head of the lead
Founder.
consultant. No, it's the lead consultant. Remember what they are assessing you for. The one I went in particular, there may be other categories. The one I went in particular is to get people that the Federal Ministry of Environment could work with. Let's say an EIA project is coming. Oh, sorry, a project is coming up and they will need EIA in specific area. Does it have to do with the petroleum sector? Does it have to do with the forestry section? Does it have to do with the building of dams, urban and whatever planning? And then all those areas, they need people that can give assignment to, but they need to be sure of their technical competence. Hence the
Okay.
need for that interview. So it can be the lead consultant representing the entire group. It can also be, you can actually go with some group if you feel. I think the decision, how will I put it, the CEO of the company I went with took was a nice one because there were a lot of
Yes.
things he didn't know. So when questions were thrown, those of us that have competence in those areas, we quickly addressed it, and he had just little to say. But there are some. I remember a particular professor. He went in. He has been consulting for the World Bank before, doing a lot of work with the Federal Ministry of Environment too. As he went there, he didn't even spend up to 2 minutes. They told him to take a bow and leave. They have seen his handwork before. He came out
Yeah.
and he scaled through. Professor Oguche was supposed to take this course with us too. He has gone through a similar assessment like that too. And he told us they've seen his work before. He has related with them. The panelists, they know him. It was like a walkover for him. So they don't need to, but for us that were coming new then, they needed to be sure that we had the juice to do the work. And some people came out, some even almost crying because they have high hopes, or a project is planning, they are planning to do some underground work in order to get a particular project, and they need that certification, but it didn't work out for them. I just a brief about what happened. So I think I've attempted to answer that one, but
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so
okay.
much.
All right, thank you. Um, so I'll take Simeon. Simeon, I think this should be your first time, huh? Simeon Ohembaga. Please check your screen. All right. You can speak now. You are muted.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. Yesterday, one of the things we discussed is categories of project. And you told us that these projects are being categorized into 3 groups or categories. That is category 1, category 2, category 3. And under this category 1 or A, you say that they have significant adverse on environment and social impact, which are very sensitive. You gave us examples of this particular category, such as the dams, reservoirs, port, forestry, production, land management, and the rest.
Okay.
So you also told us about how this category of project are being, the requirement of this category A. And you said the preparation before project or sub-project appraisal of environmental and impact assessment report. Then after that, you also explained categories category B, which have less advanced impact compared to the one of category A. Then you also gave us some examples of this category. Yes. As one of such example of this particular category is small-scale agro industries, rural electrification, transmission lines, tourism, aquaculture, etc. Then under the category C, which you say projects like these have minimal adverse environmental impact, or they might not even have at all. So one of the examples of this particular category of project is education, family planning, health, most human resources, and the list. After that, you also told us about the reclassification that triggers this project. One of them is during project design update, detailed site investigation or stakeholders consultations need new findings may emerge. This is one of the reclassification that you told us. At this point, I would like to stop here so that another person will also bring his or her own contribution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Simeon. That was, is it that you snapped the screen, or in fact, or you were taking notes?
I was taking notes of
it was
yesterday.
quite, oh no, I'm impressed. Thank you so much. You followed, and then you almost gave it back verbatim, and I'm happy that you were able to absorb. Those are key aspects of what we discussed yesterday and you were able to follow through, if you could actually absorb that knowledge, of course, it's going to help you the way you look at EIA. So once again, thank you for that knowledge share. I'll take Elumo now. Elumo, you may unmute.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Elumo,
Sir, are you with me?
check your screen. You're not
Yes, I have
yeah.
unmuted. Yes, I want,
While
before
you
we go to,
prepare.
yes, I'm with you, sir. Can I go ahead?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, I want to ask a question in respect to the stakeholders that are involved in EIA, especially the aspect of EIA expert. Yesterday, you told us that this category of people are registered with the Federal Ministry of Environment. And I want to ask whether Federal Ministry of Environment itself doesn't have experts that will carry out EIA, or don't they employ experts? Because when you say registered, it means you can have your own company and you register with them and you become their expert, or you become someone that they will call upon on you to come and carry out EIA. Don't they also employ EIA experts? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. They have their experts too. But this one is, how will I put it? You are like somebody that is recognized. You know, when it comes to the business market, generally, there are people that, in fact, if you see the name of some, is it not even about the name per se. What I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of people in the EIA market. They are ones, they are registered. So that is just the process. It's just that the fact that they are affiliated to the ministry and that the ministry is aware and they can accept work that is being done by them. Of course, the ministry, do you know there's a huge demand for EIA? There are instances whereby they will need the input from some of these specialized companies made up of consultants that are experts in a particular area. So it's not out of place for them to engage a third party to do the work. The proposal is actually submitted to them. They can take those decisions, but at some point they may decide to involve a third party to do the EIA for them. And they will review it as well too. Team of experts will review it. And if they find out that you did a good job, next time when there is another work again, they involve your company again. So that is how it works. And money is involved too. So it's not out of place for them to engage professionals outside the ministry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Francis, can you speak briefly? All right.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, class. Can you
Good
hear
morning.
me? Yes.
Yes.
I want to talk about, besides what they have been saying of what we learned yesterday, you talked about scope of the environmental impact assessments. And in it, you told us about those who are involved in the participation of various groups, stakeholders, such as project proponents and developers, investor regulators, planners, local community, non-governmental organization, and politicians who take decisions about the proposed major activity. And also you talk about the screening. You say it's a key determinant activity that is required, so that you have to carry out the screening to them whether or not a proposed activity requires an EIA, and at the level at which that assessment should occur should come in place. And I want to little add to the last person's submission questions about that Federal Ministry of Environment, can they employ a professional EIA or consultant? The role of the Federal Minister of Environment is a regulator. Environmental assessment. And also, that's why we still have this AIA partner is like the business part. There cannot be a regulator and still do the environmental impact for organizations, private company, and so on and so forth. And so what happened is that there are even some of these consultants, actually they are not EIA professionals, but they have coined a company name, register it, and recruit professionals to do the job for them, because it's business. When you talk of environmental impact business, apart from doing the work, it's business. You are paid highly, and now the Federal Ministry of Environment and NESRA, which are the regulatory body, in short, the civil NESRA that you meet, when you finish your environmental impact assessments, whatever, you take it to NESRA, you pay certain amount of money, they take it there to the Federal Ministry of Environment, whereby professionals in environmental impact assessment in the Federal Ministry will now review it before certification. So government cannot be doing the regulatory body, and also which involves certification of your report, and also go to the field to do it. They act as supervisory and regulatory. Thank you, sir. I end my case like that, sir.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me now? Okay. All right. I'm back. Sorry, network pushed me out again. But I'm back now. I want to appreciate Francis for putting that response in perspective. Yes, actually, you're right. They are regulators. Regulators can not also be the one doing doing the work. I think that puts that answer in perspective seriously. I appreciate that response. So maybe we'll try to round up. You want to make contribution to? I know you and Francis are practicing and would like to also enjoy your perspective on this matter. You may unmute. You do. Host, can you give me the privilege back? Is it possible? I still have the privilege to mute.
Don't, sir.
Host, if you are there or you give me the privilege to unmute back. All right, thank you. All right, Idwame, you can go on. While we wait for him, maybe Edo, you can maybe say something, then we'll summarize.
Okay, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
I can hear you.
I wanted to add up to
Edo,
there was an experience.
okay.
There was an experience somebody shared, or kind of a concern that he shared in the morning concerning the construction of roads in Benue, like in Makurdi here, and then concerning the stakeholders, seeing some of them living in an maybe half building that is being destroyed. I wanted to just contribute to that. Like I opportunity to work with one organization that has to do with environment and safety. So when we heard about some of them living in such houses, we had to go in to ask questions to understand the reasons why they are still living in such houses. So one of their answers to most of their answers were like, it has to involve was concerned about being living in such houses for a very long time, having some kind of attachment, more like a kind of a heritage. Some of them were like, okay, my dad died here, we buried him here, see the grave, all sorts of excuses why they should. Even the government has settled them, but for them to leave is a kind of many things are drawing them back. So they prefer to stay in such houses amid the impact it will be on them, or the risk associated with their staying in such houses. So I just wanted to talk briefly on that since I didn't have the opportunity to say it in the morning yesterday. Then I want to ask a question. Hello, sir. Can someone hear me? Hello.
Yes, just a moment. I think network threw him off.
Okay. James, let's just wait like this.
All right, sorry.
The network is really bad.
Edo, if I may understand your question before I went out, it's as if government have compensated an individual who
Yes,
has
sir.
the burial point of the late
Yeah,
father somewhere, but
yeah,
yet the person was insisting that work must not proceed.
no, they did not even
Is that what you?
so they allowed the work to be going on, but they said the government will allow them to stay in the half part of the building that is left for them. Most of them that I conversed with them, that was some of their responses. Some were saying, and they are doing something in the new land they acquired, and then they are waiting for time to elapse.
Okay,
I don't
Ma.
know.
So what's the question now?
I want to ask a question concerning the drilling of boreholes.
Okay, no, you are trying, that scenario you painted was.
That was just an insight on an
Okay,
explanation for what.
okay. All right, thank you.
But I
Okay,
have a
maybe you
question.
can quickly do so that we can
Uh,
move to the next phase.
I always confused about this drilling of boreholes in houses in Makodi or in town. Like if you go to each house in Makodi, especially where I'm taking an example of maybe where the people will acquire land 50 by 50, and everybody wants to drill a borehole in a particular area like this. Don't it have any impact on the environment? Doesn't it require EIA before? I don't know. I don't know how to ask it, but it's just a concern. Don't it require AIA? And it doesn't have any impact on the environment, the drilling of boreholes.
All right. Thank you for that question. Francis, you want to comment on that? Sorry, let me take Francis' comment on that.
Okay.
You can, please, can you give my privilege back, host? All right. All right, Francis, you may go on.
Drilling of borehole have impacts, but the positive impact is more than the negative impact. And as such, if you say you carry out an AIA there, it's part of the project that you don't carry out here because the impact is, the negative part is negligible. And again, since government cannot provide potable water for everybody, or the available potable water cannot reach everybody. So if you have the resources to dig your own borehole, it's not a crime. And you know, like Makodi per se, a lot of us are still suffering water scarcity. Even with your money, you don't even see it to buy. So you have the resources to provide the borehole for yourself. It's welcome. And if they tell you to go and conduct an EIA on it, the minimum amount to conduct an EIA now is around 8 million as of 2025 for just a culvert. So if they tell you to go and conduct an EIA for a borehole, and that 8 million can even dig up to how many borehole for you. So it is not we don't do that, or you don't carry out an EIA on borehole. It's negligible. Thank you.
Thank you for that insight. We are going to learn today, okay, through what we are going to go through today, that when you go through, even if you submit such proposal, the ministry will not even, it may just stop at the screening level. They'll look at it and say, is it not borehole? Whatever conflict that may come from there, you can actually resolve it with your neighbors as concerning the place, but it's not something that you go through the EIA. The cost of doing an EIA, just as Francis actually said, will be more than the project itself. So at even a screening phase, you could be informed that it doesn't need an EIA at that level. So our time is fast spent, but Victor, let me just give you the opportunity to say something briefly. Just be brief, please. Then we can ask all the questions later.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so far. All right. Thank you, sir. Actually, it's not a comment but a question because how can I raise my hand up now permitted. The last time you made mention of things that maybe require an EIA, and you made mention of estate, things like estate and other releases. So I wanted to ask if perhaps military intends, let's say the military intends to construct a barrack and a piece of land without an NIA. Is there a law or maybe there is an approach to that as maybe a citizen of that locality to approach the legal officer?
Frankly, I didn't get you clearly. I don't know. Francis, did you get him clearly? I may wish to respond. Let me try and... I didn't get you clearly, sir, Victor. Whether there was a law, I heard something like that.
Yes, I was saying that if perhaps things like construction of barracks by either the
Okay,
military or
barracks.
the paramilitary, this forces, yes, barracks. Since issues regarding STD and AIA to be specified, how about this barrack issue? And if perhaps maybe they carry out the construction of the barracks without an AIA document or a legal, let's say maybe legal laid down, and as a citizen and a concerned occupant of that locality, is there any approach to this? When in a situation where the military don't have AIA regarding the same project, is there any
No, the construction of a barrack is a major. The construction of a barrack is a major developmental project because the area of influence of that particular project is far-reaching. The barrack is not a small place. Most times it covers a large expanse of land. Of course, in the ideal sense of it, an EIA is supposed to be carried out, especially if they are establishing it new. If you notice, most of the barracks that we have around, some of them have come into place when we don't even have a well-structured EIA. So, but I believe if a new one is coming up now, the Ministry of Defense will have to do the needful in conjunction with the Ministry of Environment to be sure that as a result of the siting and everything falls under the guidelines as specified by the law of Nigeria concerning the environment. So it's important for a barrack to, before it is being set up, a new one now to have an EIA. I don't know whether anyone have an alternative view to that. And if not, we may have to continue with our class for today. I want to appreciate all of you for the insights that you brought in, for the contributions, for the questions, which made all of us to understand the whole thing better. So today we are going to look at the EIA process itself, the EIA process. In fact, this aspect of the course was one of the most, let me say, the voluminous out of it. But we have tried as much as possible to shorten it. Based on the discussion I earlier had with Prof, we are even supposed to have limited it to just introduction so that we will not cumber you with a lot of information. But I'm going to say, maybe I'll try to highlight some things. That doesn't mean those areas maybe stop at that. There are other technical details which I feel when you start practicing or when you start seeing other reports, because in the next session in the afternoon, I'm going to show you where you can get access to reports and look at it, where you can help develop your own EIA to another World Bank document, international standard documents that can help you improve your skills in writing an EIA. So today we'll be looking at the environmental impact assessment process. We already established that EIA is actually systematic in process. It's not something that you go and start with mitigation or you go and start with baseline study. It follows a particular step, okay? You must do one first, go to the next stage, the other stage, and like that. And it actually used to identify, predict, and evaluate as well as mitigate the environmental and social effect of proposed projects before decisions are made. So you look at the benefits, just as that scale is shown in the picture, and then the negative effect of that particular project. Then you come to the decision on what to do. And it's actually backed by the Nigerian EIA Act as well as international best practices. And the general purpose of doing an EIA is to ensure sustainable development. Development putting the environment into consideration. Sustainable development that ensures economic prosperity while putting the environment and the social aspects of the people that are going to be beneficiaries of this project into consideration, and involve stakeholder in decision making as regard developmental projects. Because over time, we've got to find out that when people that are involved in the project are involved in the decision making, that project will gain high acceptance and is going to be much more welcomed by people, all the stakeholders, because they have their input at both the design, at the decision making phase. So EIA involves successions of stages, from project proposal to the ultimate decision making that will determine the project's fate. It will come to a level whereby, based on the EIA, the project may be deemed not something that should go on, okay, because of the huge impact it's going to have on the environment and human. Actually a tool that facilitates decision making when it comes to that crossroad. And it's important because it's not all development work that will actually help us in the long run. So we need to really understand some of those needs, bring out that. So the qualities, somebody that is going to be involved in an EIA, that the consultant to say, there are things he or she needs to have, and they also you need qualified multidisciplinary staff. Yes, and that's why at times we use a consultant. Yeah, one of the contributors is a business. Our money is saying one of the currently the minimum 8 million. So you can imagine doing an EIA run is a whole lot of money to be running into millions and possibly billions. So qualified multidisciplinary staff, establish technical guidelines, yes, which is NESRA and other bodies will provide. Then information about the project. Yes, that's where the proposal come in. Information about the environment. There are baseline data you have to assess. Analytical and administrative capabilities. Either NESRA or the ministry looking at your work, they should have professionals and also reviewers should be available to also look at the content and take informed decision. Then should be that institutional arrangements on how everything is going to go and who is responsible for what and who is responsible for each actions and activities. There should be review, monitoring, and enforcement power. Not that somebody will be doing something outside his environmental and social commitment plan, then nothing can be done about such things. It should be enforceable. Okay, there should be that enforcement power. And then time and money too is also important, because it's not something you just go and do overnight. And the funds to carry out an EIA is also important, just as we just mentioned. So the EIA process, there are actually 10 core stages. Sometimes you can put it as 11, say, because before number one there, the submission of the proposal is supposed to be there. But these are the 10 core processes involved in the EIA. These are the stages. I tried to put something at the side here, like an acronym, just to make you remember it, that this thing, scoping cannot come before screening, and baseline cannot come before screening. Studies cannot come before screening. So if you can develop an acronym to help you remember, because of course, if you are smart, you should know that we can't have a course on EIA, and when the question for exam is being set, this kind of place will not come out in the exam. That means it's expected that something related to this will come out, and you have to put them in the stages they come. If I ask you to present something like this and you start with public participation, of course, no matter how comprehensive your answer or responses are, you're already out of order. So you end up getting nothing, even though you can explain everything satisfactory. But know that this thing is systematic, okay? It's something that follows stage by stage. And the first one is screening, scoping, baseline studies, impact analysis, mitigation, reporting, review, decision making, the follow-up, and then public participation. So you can try to code it to, as I did there, to help you remember. So the proposal, first of all, like I said, is being submitted. The screening takes place, and then decision is taken whether a full EIA is required or not, or you just do an initial environmental exam and take a decision. If there is no EIA required, the process stops there. But after that initial environmental examination and looking at the proposal is deemed that there is need for an EIA, then scoping will now be activated. First, the ministry will inform the individual that it and categorize it appropriately, the project, and scoping will start. From scoping to impact analysis, then to mitigation or enhancement, then impact management will also be there, and then the EIA report will now come up. The report will be reviewed, and after review, to be submitted by the proponent, and then decision will be taken. And the decision can be three rather. It can be that it is decision to approve, then implementation goes immediately. It can also be decision not to approve, and sometimes it can be a conditional approval. And at times when it is disapproved, they can tell you go and redesign and submit. And there are instances whereby they'll tell you not to come back, not to bring it back. Because from all indication, it shows that the negative impact of the project outweighs the advantages that is going to bring either in the short run or in the long run. So this is how the EIA in Nigeria, the process flowchart works. So these are the stages, just as I said, and then just a short as concerning their purposes, as I just mentioned a while ago. The screening to determine if an EIA is required and at what level, like that. So you just take note of that. I will not mention it because as I go further, I'll have the need to just mention them one after the other again. So the stage one of screening is to know whether a project requires a full EIA, and if it is requiring a full EIA, at what level of details. So the process step involve, one, you submit the proposal, the project proposal. The project proponent submits it with a description of the proposed activities to the Federal Ministry of Environment or designated authority. We just that you actually is supposed to be NESRA, and the initial assessment is being carried out. So a preliminary proposal review is conducted to understand the nature. Remember when we talk about that the magnitude, how we classify a project is actually based on some of these factors: the size, the nature, the location, the potential impact of that particular project. You try to do it, and then you come up with a decision as concerning whether the project will be requiring a full EIA or not. There are screening techniques that are being used. We have the assessor, decision maker description. You have the project list with threshold and triggers. You have the exclusion project list, and that has to do with those ones that already is being excluded from a particular area. The list is there and may be available to the ministry or the agency that is reviewing your work. And once they find out that your project falls under that particular list, of course, decision will just be taken immediately. Then we have the preliminary or initial EIAs. If there are information on preliminary EIAs concerning this type of work, of course, it can guide the screening process, and it can be a combination of any of these four techniques that are being used for the screening process. So the categorization is what determines whether you are going to go forward or stop at the screening level. So the project, as you discovered before now, that there are about 3 major categories. The one with the red there is category 1 or the category A, projects where there are adverse impacts on the environment. Here we see that full EIA is required. Then there are also projects with limited impact requiring partial EIA or an environmental management plan, the SMP or the MP. And those ones that are unlikely to have significant impact may not require further assessment. So these are the categorization that have been done at the screening phase. There are sometimes, if necessary, the regulators, that is either Federal Ministry of Environment, NESRA, they may visit the proposed site. Sometimes they just make use of either the GIS information, the coordinates, as well as whatever you provided. They can also test it with whatever they have to take a look at the location and then look at it to be sure, are there actually environmental sensitive area? Is it a mangrove area? Is it an area that is being known to have underserved people? Is it an area whereby is protected by international laws? Okay, so there are times whereby that visit is important, but it's not compulsory. If necessary, they'll go there. But site inspection is part of what could also be done at the screening phase. Then the screening report will now come out. It is a formal screening decision which is issued indicating whether an EIA is needed and at what level. Is it because it's having an adverse impact, or is it because the impact is limited? So the screening report now, based on the review and the categorization that have been done, whatever you submitted, there will be a screening notification or a letter from the ministry or maybe from NESRA guiding the next step on what you need to do. Of course, if it requires full EIA, you'll be notified to conduct an EIA. Then you have to involve the consultants to do the EIA work for you. So it is important because it actually ensures efficient resource use by focusing EIA effort on projects with real potential harm to the environment, with real potentials for harm on the environment. So an instance could be a situation whereby the Federal Ministry of Environment receive a proposal from a cement plant near a water body. They can see it through the GIS information that is provided or the coordinates provided, or they can also be a field visit to check it. They screen it, and the project is classified as category A high-risk project. And of course, I believe you should know why they classify it as high risk. Water body is close by. And once you have such water body, there's usually human settlement around such area. and hence requiring a full EIA due to the potential impact on not just water, air, and then agricultural production in that area. If you are privileged to have passed through this Sekucha in Benue State on your way to Boku, where we have the Benue Cement Company, you understand this clearly, that all the plants around that place, they are still burning, releasing that cement smoke in quote, into the environment, and it's a serious source of pollution. If you are working in that company, nose mask. I see some people walking around without nose mask and a whole lot of things. Even people living around that area, their health is also threatened as a result of that cement dust. So water is going to be affected, air is going to be affected, agriculture is going to be affected, crop production, because as those things are dropping on the leaves of the plant, it's going to affect stomatal opening, it's going to affect photosynthesis, it's going to affect the entire well-being of the plant itself. So those are things that are going to happen. So you need to do a full EIA in this kind of situation, and then to let the decision makers know what you are going to do concerning that water, what you are going to do concerning the air, how you are going to mitigate if a situation come up that agriculture, which is the way of life of the Benue people around that area, is affected. So a full EIA will be needed as such. So you can see how screening help, that classification is done, and then the need for a full IA is triggered immediately. So the next step, you can see that I'm just trying to touch it briefly, not to bore you with a whole lot of details, is the scoping. Scoping, this marks the beginning of the EIA, and it is to identify the key environmental issues, to also identify key stakeholders and the extent of studies that is needed. So the key steps in scoping is that is the stakeholder engagement. You first of all need to identify your stakeholders and consult with relevant stakeholders, with emphasis on that word, relevant stakeholders, including the regulatory agencies, community members, NGOs, technical experts, to gather input and issues of concern as concerning the project. Yes, you are going to cite a cement company. If question is asked like that, who are supposed to be the relevant stakeholders? Of course, those people that are community members, they are one of the major stakeholders. You also need to engage technical experts too. Those that are into geology and mining, you involve them, okay? You can't go and say you want to cite a cement company, you won't involve a geologist, you will involve a health professional, you will involve so you discover that it's actually a multidisciplinary effort that has been done. Then regulatory bodies, either NESRA or the Federal Ministry of Environment, they are heavily involved. They are stakeholders. You take note of that even as concerning your assignments too. So when I ask that question as concerning who are the stakeholders, you need to really identify them properly. And in their concern, they are going to actually air it out. Then in your meeting, you are going to meet with them, and then they are going to they are going to bring out their concern as concerning the project. You need to take minutes of that meeting. You need to take down their concern, and then at the end of the day, you are going to prioritize based on because it's not all the concern that you are going to mitigate. You are going to go into that. So the identification of valued environmental component, what we call the VECs, that is focus on environmental and social components that are likely to be affected and are of concern to stakeholders. not everything. So you issue prioritization, you use tools like your checklist, expert judgment, you involve experts, noise made by a mower, you want to go and mitigate it. Expert will tell you no, that's not necessary. That should be only noise from this particular one, noise from this one, so that it will also reduce the burden on whoever is funding this project. Then there should also be that preliminary data to prioritize the most significant potential impacts. So maybe from previous works that have been done and so on, but it's actually going to be based on the concerns of stakeholders. So the fourth is to draft the TOR, that's the terms of reference. In fact, this is one of the major outcome of the scoping process. After you've gotten all these input as concerning their concern, as regarding the project, a document is supposed to emanate, and that is the terms of reference. And it is the legal, is the binding document. That's the legal document. Yes, we met and we identify so that is being made and so an approval. So you submit or the appropriate authorities for that terms of reference. That is the ref at the end of the day. So the output is they finalize and approve TOR that guides the conduct of the AIA study. So the TOR is the major output of the scoping process. So the important is to ensure that AIA study is focused, cost effective, because when you start having technical input or you do your checklist and others and start removing some of the impacts that may not need for you to go into serious mitigation to get then settled, it helps to reduce costs and relevant to decision makers and affected parties. So an example of scoping is a situation whereby during stakeholder meeting, concerns about air pollution, water contamination, noise, and effects on farmers were being raised during the meeting. And when they are prioritized for detailed investigation in the AIA, we know that, yes, progress is being made as concerning this, and the TOR will now cover all these concerns that are being raised about air pollution, water contamination, and the rest, because there is going to be requests for the minute of the consultation that was done with the stakeholders. So the stage 3 is the baseline studies, and this is the pre-project environmental and social conditions. See, your project is going to bring change to that particular place or to that particular region. So what was there before? What is the situation as concerning the environment and the social condition of that place before you are even coming in? Because you are going to major change based on the deviation from this baseline. Okay, the place was full of trees before in kilometers, but when you came in to bring this your project, these trees were reduced to just 1 kilometer. Of course, that is a yardstick for measurement of the impact of the project on that particular area. So the scope of baseline study, you actually look at the physical environment concerning the air quality, the noise, the geology, the soil of that place, the hydrology. So as the expert carrying out the AIA, you need to provide whoever is this project, you need to provide them with information, data current data as concerning the air quality, is it a very peaceful? Okay, how is the soil like? Okay, then is there any mining activity going on there already? What of the soil? Is this just have to do some of them yourself? And sometimes you are going to rely on available data to come up with your baseline information, the hydrology, and then as well as the climate. The climate has to do with the weather of a place over a long period of time. While weather talks about the condition of a place within a short time, climate talks about the weather itself over a long period of time. Is it a place that experiences a dry spell over a prolonged period of time? Or is it a place that have rainy season and dry season within almost the same number of months? And which time does the rainy season? All those information you have to provide it. And that is why the EIA report is usually a very big and robust document, because a lot of information need to get into it in order to make in order for people reviewing it to make informed decision. We look at the flora, the fauna. The flora, that is a plant type. Yes, you mentioned it. Is it a Guinea savanna? Is it a Sudan savanna? Is it a rainforest, humid rainforest? What about the habitat type and the biodiversity? Is it a place that is known to be a habitat for some species that may be endangered? What about the socioeconomic and cultural aspect? What's the population of people there? The land use pattern? What is the health, the livelihood? Are there fishing community? Are there agrarian community? Are there communities that depend solely on a particular source of living? So all those information are part of what you provide in your baseline studies. So there are approaches to it. You can do the DEX studies, that is existing report, remote sensing data. You can sit actually within and do a comprehensive one. You can also do the field survey and sampling, where you don't, especially when you don't have existing data as concerning that place. You may need to go to the field yourself and take samples, analyze, and come about that. Then you can do stakeholders input. You ask questions, okay, as concerning information on that particular place from the context of a specific data. You ask questions as concern the way of life of the people, what have been existing there, some historical fact about that particular. All those information are important so that you don't go and do something that will bring problem at the end of the day. So the output is that you have a comprehensive environmental report that serves as a reference for future monitoring. It also provides a context to evaluate the magnitude and significance of project-induced changes. Yes, it's a baseline, it's a context, okay? You know the deviation. Now, a practical example is that a scientist collects water samples from River Katsina. He measures the air quality, record the noise level around River Katsina, and survey local farmlands, look at the health record of the people nearby. They are healthy people. They are fishing communities. They are agriculturally based community. And then you also look at places like Boko and other places that are neighboring town. Look at Buruku. Look at other places that are close to River Katsina. Then you will now provide the baseline information. Then a fuel factory is now sited maybe close to the river. If in future it so happened that effluent from that particular biofertilizer company is entering the River Katsina, now you have a baseline study. What becomes the health of those people in the next how many years to come? With that, you can say that it's as a result of the biofertilizer that is being instituted. And if the people are in good living condition. If you know that if the effluent is going to enter into the water, based on scientific record, you know that it's going to affect the way of life of the people. It's going to affect the fish, and it's a fishing community. So all those baseline information, they are important, and it's also help the decision-making process as they are included in the report and serve as reference for future monitoring. Because once there is a strong deviation, immediately monitors can say, no, 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 no. These people were not falling sick before, that they are falling sick now. Is it that you didn't do what you say you are going to do to mitigate this? And that can be triggered immediately and brought forward. So the fourth stage is the impact analysis. Impact analysis here, based on what we've learned before as concerning impact, we are now it will help to predict and assess the potential environmental and social effect. There are several ways of doing it. You can use the direct and direct, the positive versus the negative, the short-term impact, the long-term impact. We've done a lot of positive and negative impact along the line. That's one of the ways of doing it, okay? We also have the direct and the indirect impact. You can categorize the impact like that. There are short-term impact. There are also those that are cumulative, and there are those that are residual in nature as well too. So there are methods that are used. You can use the checklist, the matrix. We've talked about that before. Then you can use the environmental modeling and the simulations. Then expert judgment. In fact, a lot of consultants use this one a lot. Expert judgment, they ask you a question as an agriculturist. If we do this, what do you think will come out of it? And then you also have a scenario analysis, whereby you lay a hypothetical case and then you analyze what will come out of it, and then you say, no, this should be a very serious impact. So the assessment will be based on the magnitude of that impact. How long will that impact also last? Okay, is it a noise that is going to be forever? Is the radioactive rays coming from this transmission line, from this a telecommunication substation, is it going to be within a short time? Is it going to be for a very long time? How reversible is this impact? And then the significance of the impact as well too. So those analyses, you're going to put it there clearly for the reviewers to take a look at it. So at the end of the day, the output will be that there will be detailed impact assessment and justification for you to put this as a serious impact, that is a severe impact, and the ratings that you give the project inside your work. So it's also important because it informs the next stage, which is the mitigation and decision making, as well as public engagement. Yes, the impact have been brought for this, the negative and the positive that the project is going to bring. People are now aware of it. Now it informed this next stage we are going to, this is the decision, the mitigation aspect, as well as decision and public engagement. So an example, in practical cases, when an EIT found that cement dust may affect cassava farm, respiratory health, and runoff could also contaminate water, rise river, impacting fishing communities in communities downstream. So meant a company as well as a project that could lead to runoff. So you know that fishing will be affected, drinking water will be affected. You are bringing out the impact. And these are major impact. Of course, respiratory health is anything that affects is a serious one, and even and the crop production generally. So the mitigation measures now, This is very important. And this informed the environmental management plan, or what we call the ESMP. So the purpose is to develop actions to avoid, minimize, rectify, reduce, or compensate for the negative effect of a particular project. So there is this hierarchy. There are 5 steps. I may be requesting of you to mention these 5 steps and then talk about it. And it's actually is done in a succession like this. The identified negative impact. Is this something you can avoid? That's the first thing. You think of ways. Are there alternatives? You are thinking of digging or building a dam. Okay, but dam is going to lead to this, is going to do this, is going to do that. Can we think of borehole instead of a dam? Can it do the same thing as a dam? Okay, if no, it must be dam. Can we minimize the impact? Dam is going to lose this, do that, do that. Okay, these are the impact. What are the ways? Can we really reduce this impact? Okay, it is something that can be rectified. Okay, is it reversible? And can we reduce this, the impact? Is something that can be minimized, something that can be reduced to some extent, whereby we can cope with. And if all these are not possible, then plan to spend money. So the first line of action is not to just say, okay, there's going to be this, there's going to be pollution of air. So you are going to give money to people around there to buy drugs to be taken whenever they have catarrh or respiratory problem. That's a very foolish thing to do as a consultant. That's not the first line of action. Okay, if it is, you can't say you damage the people and then give them money as compensation. It's not done that way. First of all, can you avoid that thing that is bringing out the dust, or can you minimize it? If it is dust from particulate matter during road construction, can you sprinkle water to reduce it and all that? And when you can't do that, or when you do it and still the problem is there, then think of ways to offset that. So they are usually integrated into the EMP, and specific mitigation measure, institutional responsibility, even budget, and then the timeline is specified. We are going to see it. I'll showcase one for you to see. And there are monitoring indicators. They are linked to specific impact and mitigation activities to help reviewers and monitors to actually know that this is supposed to be going on and at what phase. Is that a construction phase, at the design phase, is that the commissioning phase or the decommissioning phase? Those activities are well stated there so that monitors can actually take a look at it and know whether there is compliance or not. So the output is an environmental management plan, or the ESMP section of the EIA report. The proposed action to avoid, reduce, or compensate for negative impact is the importance. An example is the company is advised, when the company is advised to install dust filter or set up wastewater treatment system or construct buffer zone with trees or relocate people to a nearby school, maybe 2 kilometers from the plant. Okay, in response to how to really reduce the impact of a particular thing that maybe the project is going to introduce along the line, either during the construction phase or at the decommissioning phase or whatever stage, you have to include that in your mitigation measures. So there are key features of a good EMP. EMP is part of the EIA. It specifies all linkages, that is with the community and the contractors, regulatory institutions, and then the agencies. Mitigation measures are specified and detailed. Mitigation or monitoring measures are also feasible and practical. There is proper assessment of institutional capacity, identification of capacity building measures, and monitoring indicator. and are clear. The monitoring indicators are clear and mainly measurable. Yes. Who is going to do this? At what time? All those ones. I'm going to show you an example very soon. Monitoring targets are also specific, and the proposed mitigation and monitoring measures are duly costed, either in naira or in dollar, depending on how it's been understood. So it's like the environmental mitigation plan for the foundry or the construction phase. You can see there's a proposed activity. The potential impact on the environment is mentioned, the proposed mitigation measure, and who is responsible for doing that, then the cost will be measured. See, the Ministry of Nezra want to see all this. You are going to use land within the plant construction area and along the access route. It's going to damage vegetation. Okay, so what's your proposed mitigation plan? Appropriate clearing, okay, hand clearing, not mechanized clearing will be utilized. Trees protected, species will be relocated. Okay, all these things that has been mentioned. Who is doing it? The contractor or the plant operating company. And how much is it going to cost? It's going to cost $5,000. You put it there like that. Then you go to the one, maybe the potential air pollution by dust. What is the proposed mitigation distance, particularly during hot, dry, windy conditions? Who will do that? Is the contractor. And how much will it cost to be sprinkling water to avoid dust from rising? Is $2,000. Just like that, you need to specify all of them. There will be emission of carbon monoxide, there will be emission of nitric oxide and all. Who is responsible for that? And then the amount. All of these are usually specified within the environmental and social management plan or the environmental management plan, depending on which you are doing, inside the EIA. So these are some of the examples of what is being done. Just place it there for you to take a look at. It will not permit us to read all of them. It's for your reference later. So the next phase is now you are going to come up with a report. You consolidate all the EIA findings into a coherent decision-ready document. And this document, you are going to have the executive summary, the project description, the legal institutional framework guiding the EIA. You need to know that the methodologies you use, the baseline condition, the impact assessment, the mitigation measures, as the EMP now, public consultation findings. In fact, you are going to also include minutes of your meeting with the stakeholders, then conclusions and recommendations. It's actually the best practice. It is clear, concise, and the best practice for this, when you are reporting, I'm going to show you a particular report. It was reported in English and then also reported in Hausa language. That is the best practice, so that there are some people that don't understand English. They'll be able to understand that particular, especially when you're going to work among the Hausa community. If it is among the Idoma community, it's expected of you that you transmit or you interpret whatever you've written in Idoma community, in Idoma language, in Tiv language, in Nupe language, and the rest. So that's best practice. The use of visuals, very important. If you are saying you are rehabilitating a particular structure, show the picture of the structure. Let's see the current condition. Use of map and GIS facility is important. If there are appendices or glossary, things to be referenced, put it inside that report. If it is evidence-based, better. Let's see the evidence. And then references. Cite people, reference them. Then the importance is that The environmental impact statement is the main decision supporting document for regulators and stakeholders to refer to. An example is when, okay, the report that is coming from an AIA effort is called the environmental impact statement. Okay, the environmental impact statement, and is submitted to the Federal Ministry of Environment or NESRA, containing all the assessment, the mitigation plan, the map, the stakeholders, and all other relevant things as we have mentioned. And the report includes a summary in English and in the local language. If you are working with the TIF people, if the project is going to be cited among the local TIF community, you can put also the TIF version inside there too, so that everybody is carried along. Then you have the review phase. The review phase is okay. To raise your hand up, you may wait till maybe we finish the session. I'm about rounding up. Okay. You check. Purpose is to check accuracy, credibility, and completeness of the report. I was saying in the last class that we have reviewers. Professor Shonke is one of them. He does it for those coming from the forestry angle. If you are going to do planting of trees and the rest, or work that will involve deforestation and the rest, he can review for the ministry. Then the Federal Ministry or NESRA also have their reviewers there, specialists in those areas as well too. That is, it can be the ministry or the independent of the external experts. That is where Shomke and the rest they fall into, or the peer reviewers. They look at it. Is this thing actually technical? Is it accurate? Is it scientific? Does it make sense? Okay. Is it all encompassing? Is it credible? That's where the reviewer come in. And the criteria is completeness. If it is complete and accurate, good. It has scientific rigor. It did serious work. Not that you just go and touch few things and say you have done an EIA. How objective are you? Or you are being political as concerning your views? Stakeholders' responsiveness. Did they really express themselves? Okay, based on your report. Then how aligned is this with the result of your scoping, which is your TOR? So those are things that the reviewers are going to actually check in your EIA review. So the process is either they review it, they have the review session, or you have a workshop to review it, or then there'll be that compilation of review comments, and requests for revision or additional studies can also be made as well too. The output is usually approval or request for revision. So if they are using, let's say, an independent expert, now you can say, yeah, this is complete, this is good, and is approved. And if there are more information, the technical professional will now say, no, you need to bring in information as concerning the population of the people, as concerning the soils of this particular place, and so on and so on. If there are missing links within the document, it will be brought out for during the revision phase. And it will be documented as well too. So the importance is to ensure decision making is based on sound and trustworthy information. A good example can be a situation whereby the Federal Ministry of Environment and the Benue State Environmental Protection Agency organize a panel including environmentalists, NGOs, and academics from University, at the Federal University of Agriculture, Makudi, to critique an environmental impact statement. That is the report that I have written. So when such is done, you can say that that is the review phase of a particular EIA going on. Decision making is a critical phase. There's this formal approval, either to approve, to reject, or to reject with condition. for a particular AIA report that you have written. The decision authority is the Federal Ministry of Environment or a designated body, NESRA, or other designated body. So the possible outcome is the approval with conditional approval, pending modifications that you are going to do on the AIA report, then outright rejection. I've given you some of the things that could lead to that already. So their consideration, you look at the technical merit and the impact significance. It's part of what is going to inform the decisions. Look at public opinion and stakeholder concern. They'll look at it carefully. This person made mention of this during your stakeholder meeting. How did you sufficiently address that in this EIA report? And how convincing it is? What about the legal compliance? Does the Nigerian government allow this? Okay, is it international best practice to do this particular aspect of the project? What about the economic and social trade-off? This is something that is worth it. Like we talk about the borehole stuff, the money to do an EIA or to do mitigation is going to outweigh even the project itself. So is it really worth it? Then what about, then the output is environmental authorization, an approval certificate of environmental compliance. This could also be issued. It formalizes whether the project can proceed and under what safeguard environmental safeguards. So an example can be based on the review, the Federal Ministry of Environment grants conditional approval. The factory can proceed only if it complies with full list of mitigation measures and submit quarterly environmental monitoring reports. That means based on whatever they saw in the AIA report, it shows that the impact is really high, but they can give a conditional approval pending your ability to be doing this on a quarterly basis. That shows that if you are not doing those, if you are not complying with that, there is a possibility to say terminate. You stop it at some point. So the follow-up, which has to do with the monitoring aspect, is to ensure that the predicted impacts and proposed mitigation are effectively managed post-approval. Just as we look at the ESMP just now, it said for air quality, this is what you are going to do. And then the contractor or whoever is handling that, and this is the cost. Monitors are going to look at it. There's going to be compliance audit as well too. And then based on how adaptive is the project, you made new findings. Did you include that in the project cycle, or you just ignored it completely? So the follow-up is closely linked to monitoring, and it's for you to ensure that all those things you say that you are going to do, you actually comply by it. The method of field measurement and sampling, yes, you look at if part of the impact is on the soil or on the water, you are going to be taking soil samples and water samples periodically to test it. Is as the water all of a sudden become acidic and all those things. Then stakeholders feedback, you ensure you are linking with the stakeholders, especially the communities, the local communities, to see what is their feedback as concerning the project and the project's impact on their life. Then we look at environmental performance indicators as well too. So the frequency is actually based on the project phase and the risks. If it means you are going to be doing weekly water samples, it's going to be based on the project risk profile. And the importance that it ensures accountability and continuous improvement as well as sustainability of regarding the project. Example is Federal Ministry of Environment inspectors visit a site biennially A local NGO in Boko, for example, is trained also to monitor the dust level, and local farmers report on crop health, and then the company is penalized once for failing to maintain filters. They said they are going to do it, but they ended up not doing it. The follow-up is part of what brings that out. Then the last one is the public participation. To ensure transparency, legitimacy, and uh, legitimacy and inclusion in the AI process, uh, the public participation is important for transparency, legitimacy, and inclusion. It's not something that is just the dream of whoever is proposing the project. No, but it has to be owned by everybody, all the stakeholders involved. And there are approaches in doing that. Public health, hearing and consultation. You also have group discussions. You have the stakeholders workshop. You have the disclosure of EIA reports. These are approaches whereby you can ensure transparency and inclusion within the EIA process. Principles of public participation, it has to be early and continuous, not done once and forever, and that's all. You have to be inclusive of vulnerable and marginalized group. Is it the women group? Is it the youth? A situation whereby a project is coming, the elders will just hijack it and leave the youth. You are looking for trouble. Is it free, prior, and informed consent? Use the free, prior, and informed consent model. All these, there will be documentation. They have the participation log, yes, that is attendance. Then the minutes of the meeting, feedback, and summary is part of public participation. We also have improved project acceptance as the importance. When you involve people, the stakeholders in the work, of course, they will own the project itself. It will reduce conflict because you are going to redress as these things are coming up. If your stakeholder or public participation is continuous, you are going to address them properly and also enhance the quality of the EIA. For example, in a town hall meeting, which is held in TIFF language. You can see the stakeholder consultation now is held in the local language. Women groups, farmers, fishermen were in participation, even youth leaders. They gave their input as concerning the project that is gone, and concern about displacement and health are incorporated into the final EIA report. So these are this is how important the public participation is, and is something that has to be down to earth, even down to the fact that you're going to use the local language also in communicating. So there are challenges of EIA practice in Nigeria. We have inadequate baseline data. Yes. Sometimes you are looking for soil data as concerning a place, you can't get it. You are looking for air quality parameters as concerning some place, you can't get it. So that problem is there. Although the Ministry of Environment as well as NIMET, they are doing a lot as concerning that through the use of geosensing facilities, but we still have that as an issue. Then we have that political interference. An EIA process went on, and then it's so clear that there will be no approval based on the EIA, that this project will not get approval. Then you just get a call from the governor or whoever is concerned that no, this one is the majority leader of so-so or so-so local government and whatever they call it, that must go on, that this is political settlement, that project must be approved. And because the individual is trying to protect his job, you find out that he has to, one way, something that was not approved before, you just hear that it has been approved. So those things exist. And then there's weak enforcement. this person is actually going against what he planned to say, but weak enforcement can be as a result of corruption, as a result of low manpower to carry out enforcement. The ministry, they seem to be overwhelmed by the quantity of projects going on and so on. Then low public awareness. This thing we are talking about, not everyone is aware of it, that they are entitled to have an input when fueling station or a gas station is supposed to be installed close to their apartment. Some are not even aware they are supposed to be part of the stakeholder engagement. Some are not even aware that a cement factory is coming to their locality. They need to be aware of it. No, there's that low awareness of the public. Then the capacity gap among consultants. Yes, a lot of consultants may not have the knowledge, even though it's a business, as we say. How knowledgeable are they about this AIA stuff? Thank God they are going through a course like this that is teaching you about environmental sustainability. We hope that with your knowledge in AIA, your knowledge also in other areas that other lecturers are going to be exposing you to in the course of this study, you are going to fill in that capacity gap and be better consultants to carry out the AIA process. So the opportunities for improvement is that capacity building for professionals, which we are doing. The use of GIS, yes, this has to be seriously in many developed countries that depend on this a lot. Science have moved far. We need to catch up. Then we have strong legal enforcement. If you go against the law, you are supposed to pay for it. Then integration of a strategic environmental assessment and then enhanced community engagement. Those are areas for improvement. The EIA, in conclusion, the EIA is more than a process. It is a commitment to protecting our environment, empowering communities, and ensuring development today does not compromise the need of tomorrow. I want to thank you for your patience and for your attention. At this junction, I would like you to ask questions and make comments. If there are areas that I was not, I actually missed out, or there are comments I made, you can actually, that you wish to correct, you can actually air it now. All right, let me maximize this now. All right, Idu, quickly. All right. Idu, we are not hearing you. You are muted, but we are not hearing you. If you are using an earpiece, you may need to disconnect.
Okay, I've disconnected. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. My contribution is regard to the function of NESRA in the EIA process.
Okay.
In the EIA process, EIA is solely a federal, the mother ministry prerogative.
Okay.
In the process, just from the beginning to the end, our roles in the EIA process as NESRA, NESRA roles in the EIA. One, NESRA is to ensure that there's EIS for all projects. That is to make sure that every developmental project that is happening in Nigeria, NESRA will insist on them having EIA. That is, if they go to site and the facility did not have it, they will make sure, compel them to have it. NESRA is just like the police, as we have in other clients, to enforce all environmental laws as regarding EIA also. And then during EIA, when they are doing public hearing within the state, NESRA will come. Then when they are during scoping, NESRA will be part of it. But majorly, the rules, every other rules that are there, it is within the federal government. It's 3 tiers of government. The state ministry of environment, or whichever every state delegate to handle issue of EIA. Then the local government, where that EIA is taking place. And then that is in the EIA phase. That is when the EIA is in a process. Then the monitoring is done as well by the federal and state and the local government in consult with the consultants that is involved in the process. But the role of NESRA is to make sure the necessary things are done. And at the end of the EIA, what NESRA go to the field to ask is they'll ask for their EIS and the final report. Because inside the final report of the EIA, after this the scoping and everything is done, the draft copy is presented, the community relationship is done at the scoping level, and then when the draft copy is made, sent to the various stakeholders, and public announcement is made, a time is fixed, could be a hotel, could be a place that they have that general conference. When that is done and the final report is prepared and either approved or given and the project is to start, then they will have the final report. Inside that final report, what is interesting to NESRA inside is their management tools, which is either ESIA or ESMP or EMP. That is where the mitigation measures are in. That that is what is enforceable in the process. The entire book, the entire EIA process, the final outcome is in those management tools. So it's the management tools that NESRA go to the field to implement. And everybody is a stakeholder in environment, like I said. So the area we are talking about, weak enforcement, the NESRA is only in the state capital, and this thing happen in various areas. So it's when, because some people are having concern that who they complain to. If there is any project going on in your location, and you via this course, you understand that they're supposed to do EIA, it's your duty to complain to NESRA, because if you complain to them and they refuse, they can be sued. So this course is actually giving Nigerians the opportunity to actually protect their environment. So NESRA can be sued, but you can inform if there is if they are building a barracks in your place, you can write to NESRA that so project is going on in this particular place, because like weak manpower, we are not too, the NESRA people are not too many within a state, though NESRA in 36 states of the federation, but they are mainly in the headquarters. So it's until when there's a project that they are informed that they can be able to follow up. Thank you for that. I think that's my contribution for now. Talking too much.
All right, sorry, I got kicked out. I'm back. All right, thank you so much for that explanation. Tell procedure based on the field real life situation, how it goes on within the sector, what NESRA does. They're actually the one that provided the guidelines, and they also monitor it also to ensure that the right thing is being done. So you can see him saying that when it comes to them, the NESRA activity, they look out for your EIA report seriously aspect, the ESMP in particular, because that is what they are going to look at and ensure that they enforce anytime they pay you a visit. So we are happy to get that contribution from you. Veshima, you may unmute now. So please, maybe because our network is a bit limited, those you don't get knocked out again. All right, go on.
Thank you, sir. I will first of all start with a question. It's not a serious question anyway, but I just need clarification. When you were talking about stage 8, that talk about decision making, in conclusion, you put approval with condition. I think that another one was approval with is a modification of something, then rejection. So my question is, must this approval come with a clause on it? That is the question. Then my contribution is on this stakeholder. This issue of stakeholder involvement is a very key to when it comes to this EIA of 18, because failure to address this issue, it will sabotage the whole process of the project. And I had this experience when we go for a project in a rural area, and the people were not well informed. On arrival, we went with about a truck carrying over 25,000 seedling of palm to the community. And upon seeing the truck, they stopped us from even offloading it, because a certain group of people that their land was already captured and measured for this particular project, but they were not properly informed. And they pointed to us that when the meeting was doing, they only select people that they feel they matters. Now they are coming to impose decision on them. So it affected the process of the work. And the work that was supposed to take us up to 2 weeks, it took us up to a month before we are live on what to do, but even not a comprehensive, the way the work is supposed to be done. So this stakeholders' involvement, I see it as a crucial tool when embarking on any project, but failure to do it, it leads to a lot of frustration on lapses. That is my contribution.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that from you. That is still enforcing the fact that you need to really identify your stakeholders properly. And you need to really be smart about it. Okay, you get to some communities, you really need to know who and who you need to involve, especially the men and the rest. Don't neglect those people. Involve them. Let them own the project. Don't be smart, in quote now, saying you just deal with the leaders and that's all. It's supposed to be something that they can work in and work out, but because stakeholder engagement was not properly done. It's aspect that you asked, must it come with a condition? I think the ministry reserved that right based on the report you have written to either give without condition or to tell you to give to do some things that is approved but do some things, or that it is rejected but go and modify it and bring back. So they have that right to take that decision based on the recommendation. All right, Aka, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I had challenge on enforcement. But while you were discussing challenges, you mentioned enforcement. Now, EIA, I believe, is carried out by an organization that is trying to set up a facility in a community.
A project.
A project in a community. Now, is to carry out this EIA to ensure that all the checks about the environment are properly treated. Now, the organization has adhered to all compliance. I want to give an example.
we have this national grid, this transmission company we have in Makurdi. The national grid, there was this certain restriction that houses should be within, I think, 100 meters or so. The company now has laid his cables and other things. Now, people are encroaching back within the area they said there should be no houses. I think that is no longer the problem and the fault of the company. It is now the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to ask our colleague here, Idu, who is with Nestre. The company now has adhered to all compliances. Now the community is encroaching back. Who is now going to carry out enforcement to ensure that this community does not encroach back? Because if any disaster happens now, will these transmission companies be held responsible?
All right. Idu, you can respond to that. Okay, Francis, if Idu is not nearby, you could respond.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, class. In response to what one of us have brought out, if there is a calamity or there is a challenge or there is an issue, a disaster as a result of those people encroaching and going back there, the company will not be held responsible. The individual will blame themselves. It has happened like that. There are so many situations like that. Now, by Nigerian law, you know, they are constructing roads from Makurdi to Otupo now, dualization. The law says you should stay 100 meters away from the road. But community members are not obeying those things. So if there's a casualty, there's an accident that happens. Now, you don't blame the government for, you don't blame the government, you blame yourself. Now, in trying to enforce, the enforcement issue now is not only the government that will try to enforce. The community, that's why they say community stakeholders. The stakeholders can carry out sensitization. Look, when they came, they sensitized us. We had a community stakeholder meeting, and you should not go there. You should leave that place. Why are you going back? So it's an all-round issue. That's why we are saying that for EIA to be taking place, you have to involve the community. Everybody should be involved so that everybody should be aware. So that nobody will claim ignorance that I'm not aware. So any person going there now is not going because he's ignorant that he should not go there. He's encroaching because he wants something. He wants to go. He doesn't want to stay away from that place. And we know our system of government. Sometimes the person going there now might be a relative or a brother of one top politician. If you want to use the law or the strong law on him, he will call the person. And before you see the phone call, okay, leave that, you just leave it. So these are the situations we find ourselves. It's common with most projects that want to improve the community. I rest my case.
Yeah. All right. So I am actually enjoying the trajectory of this decision, of this conversation rather. It's quite engaging, and personally, I'm also learning from some of these practical cases and how it impacts us. I think I would like us to do this. In the next phase, our time is done. I'm a time-conscious person. So we are going to end this phase, but please, the afternoon session, Idu, Kafayat in particular, Kafayat, Isaiah, Edo, and Idu, please, you are going to start the session with your input as concerning this. So I would like us to have the break for now and resume by 1 o'clock. So if there's any announcement, class rep, you may say now, as we can go off for now. Over to you, class rep.
Thank you very much for the very interesting and impactful session, sir. For the class, there is no announcement for this morning. We'll reconvene by 1 p.m. for the afternoon session.
All right. All right. Thank you. Have a blessed time. Bye.
Did you take your bait?